Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Wednesday morning. I'm trying to wake up. What's going on, Mr. Jon Hart over there? You've got me up at 9:30 in the morning on a Wednesday. I don't do early mornings, especially on One Live to be lively. How are we?
Well, good, mate. Well, good. Yeah. I've got kids as well, so I've done the school run and now, yeah, settling in.
Well, I'm a typical artist. I woke up this morning, my son got ready himself for school, and I went back to sleep.
I'm looking forward
So
to those days.
it's it's a rock and roll life when you become a music artist.
Yeah, yeah.
Getting up for school is not on the plan. So anyway, everybody, welcome to One Life. Welcome to our breakfast show. Do you know, actually, it'd be quite interesting to do a couple of breakfast shows, just to get myself up in the morning. I know we're musical artists, do not like getting up in the mornings. We're late night people, we're night owls. We stay on stage until late at night. We don't get up in the
No,
morning.
no.
That's just sort of like the history of a musician. But for Jon, it's very different with having children and having to get up and do the school run.
Yeah. That I used to
So,
be that, and now I'm like I've had to shift to this this new style of life at the moment until they become teenagers. Then maybe I'll be able to get another line, but we'll see.
Definitely, until they grow up.
Yeah.
So, anyway, everybody, over in One Life, basically, we had a show last night and a great show with Christine Poulter, our singer songwriter over from Georgia. So, we're waking up this morning to the presidential elections. Congratulations. It looks as though to Donald Trump, we're going to be having a new era over in America. Wherever you are, a Donald Trump fan or a Camilla fan, it's happened. We're dealing with it. For us over the UK, it's been an amazing soap opera. It's been quite interesting. I stayed up with my partner till 1 o'clock in the morning. My sister's over in Pennsylvania. She was having a
Right.
watch party, as
Oh
they
wow.
called it. So it looked really interesting last night, seeing the results come in. So for all those Americans waking up this morning, it looks as though you've got Donald Trump as your next president. We'll see what happens. Okay, I'm not really going to comment on it. I'm not
Right.
really a
Right.
politician, but at the end of the day, it looks as though that's what's happened for you over in America. For us in One Life, in terms of the Daniels Foundation, please continue to support them down below. They are our charity of the month. They are there to support American and the UK and the rest of the world musicians who have neurodiverse disabilities, in relation to helping them break out into the music industry despite whatever their disability brings to them. And they offer support, a record label, free classes, everything is free when it comes to the Daniels Music Association, because they want to make sure the disabled people are joining in the music industry, in the music world. And there are some fantastic artists which are being brought through from the Daniels Music Foundation. We have been putting on a couple of their highlights from their association onto our shows during the evenings to show you a bit about them. And Dan and Kenny will be joining us on the 15th to come and talk to us about their foundation over in New York. So for us in the UK, we can access all of their facilities in relation to their open mics, in relation to their music video, their dance classes, all on the internet, all accessible, and for you to enjoy, as a disabled artist. Please join in. And I'm really looking forward to welcoming them on the 15th to see what support that they can bring to the disabled community. So, that's fantastic. They've just had the award show as well. That's every single year. So for yourself, Jon, you are yourself an artist with ADHD and dyslexia. I found out myself 2 months ago that I could actually enter this award show and become
Right.
part of the awards. And I
Oh, brilliant.
basically sent over one of my songs, because in America, dyslexia is seen as a disability. In England,
Okay.
we still are living in the dark ages, I'm afraid.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dyslexia is not seen as a disability, it's a difficulty. But for yourself and for myself as dyslexia, actually, it is very difficult for us, and it just disables us in a lot of ways.
Hmm.
So yeah, so please support the Danny's Music Foundation this month. They will be with us for the whole of this November month, and then obviously in December we move into the Christmas party show for the month with the Make the Wish Foundation, and we're looking forward to enjoying our month together in December. We do have a Christmas party, John, on the 19th of December, where all of our artists are going to join together, celebrate Christmas, bring out our Christmas albums, because there is a lot of people already bringing out their Christmas singles to try and get that #1 spot over in the UK and America. So those Christmas albums and singles are flying off the shelf this year, and I've already seen them being entered even into competitions like the Grammys. You know, Christmas songs are going to be big this year by the looks of it. So that's what we've got coming up. And the last thing, just wanted to tell the One Life crew, is that basically that music academy I spoke about yesterday, in 2025, One Life will be bringing you the very first One Life Music Academy. We are going to open a music academy. And what we're going to do to help you artists out there is mentor and support you to basically work our way around the music industry, understand and learn about the music industry, because it's tough out there, but also put together your very first single, which is donated to a local and national charity. So we're going to support you from the beginning to the end, to putting out a single onto Spotify, onto Apple Tunes, whatever you want people to listen to your music on, and support you as an artist. And we're going to find mentors to support you as well, because the connections obviously that we have in One Life, there'll be lots of people to support you. So whether you're a rock and roll artist, whether you're a country artist, whether you're a pop artist, there'll be someone out there to mentor you through the music program. So just to confirm with you, last night, we did have that discussion last night. We will be bringing you the One Life Music Academy in 2025. And I'm really looking forward to that. It's going to be fantastic. So anyway, that's One Life. This morning's breakfast show is dedicated to this young man over here, Mr. Jon Hart. Well, welcome to the show, mister.
Thank you, mate. It's lovely to be here.
So, John, an accomplished fingerstyle singer-songwriter. I'm starting on that. Explain fingerstyle to me in terms of music.
So, singer-songwriter, as we know, obviously we carve out songs, we sing. But for guitar playing, I used to be a strummy, finger-picking kind of, guitarist. But for me, it was just kind of like, okay, actually, I was in bands. I was trying to do that, as a front man. And then bands are bands. Sometimes you have to find the right team, the right dynamic and stuff. And I didn't. So I took 2 years out and to study this thing called fingerstyle guitar. The fancy term is like virtuosic acoustic guitar playing or whatever it is and stuff. But basically, it's very technical, but you can basically almost play a whole band on one instrument. So I don't use a loop pedal. So if obviously the likes of someone like Ed Sheeran used the loop pedal where he'd layer everything up, I would do that organically. So all on one instrument. So I would play the bass, the keys, the guitar, the drums, all of it, the Hammond organ, all on one thing. And whilst I'm doing that, I'm singing over the top of it. So it's kind of like a really immersive, rich sort of surround sound, that sort of singer-songwriter sound. So
fantastic. Do you know what? Actually, I'm proud of you, mate, because I've got dyslexia as well, and I've struggled all my life to do two things at once. I'm going to hold my hand up in the air. When I took my driving test, it took me 10 times until I went in an automatic car and I passed, because I had less to do as a dyslexic person. Playing a guitar and singing, I've been a vocalist, relied on backing tracks all my life, because as soon as I put a guitar in my hand, that's another thing and too much information going into my brain. So to be able to do all the things that you're doing is absolutely amazing, especially as a dyslexic person. But that must have took some training. You must have started at a young age, or you must spend many hours creating your art.
Yeah, and I think I've been playing for 30 years. I think, well, I can't remember what it is, but the idea, I was, strumming and singing, and I felt like an entertainer, and I was like, I really want to delve into this and stuff. And there's no course, there was no program at the time, so it was an unofficial degree race, basically like a master's, and it was blood, sweat, and tears. And what you've got to do, you've got to slow everything down to the point where, okay, and then figure it out and maybe emulate, and obviously you've got influences, but and then it took that time, and I really wanted to venture out. There was a few other guys who do it and things, you know. I don't know if you know the likes of Newton Faulkner, and I mean there's sort of more other ones that I've got to know, but you know, having that and then going out and being unplugged as well. So if you can sound like that unplugged and then plug in and sound like that, it was a very what we call like a special interest. So I'm autistic as well, so my autistic has a very special interest, and I see my ADHDs like it's a creative spark plug. My autism's like a creative sculptor, right? It takes the spark plug, the ideas, and really dives into it. And then the dyslexia I see as a creative problem solver, and I'm always like working out which one. So if I take an idea or a project, the reason why I've finished albums is because I believe the ADHD's come up with it, the autism's kind of dialed into it, and then the creative problem solver is just sort of working out. That's why I see my positives of, I know it's disabling, I know there's conditions, and you know, I call it surviving to thriving. Where am I surviving? Where am I thriving in these conditions? And I feel that
your music's thriving, though, because you know this is a sixth album. You know, sixth album now. That's a massive.
That's a very ADHD thing as well. Bang, 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 bang.
I know. You know, so 6 albums in. You know, when did you start?
Oh, well, do you know what? I started these 6 albums. That was only 2015, right? Right. That, but
wow.
Before that, obviously being in bands, like I was. Now this is the thing: is as an independent music artist, without having a label and things as well, I was able to obviously to write these things and then come out and sort of release an album. But since I've now found out my conditions, the last album's taken me 3 years. The other albums were like 1 a year. It was very intense. But sometimes I think this brain's like, I call it like a supercomputer, but it's on old hardware, right? And that's why it glitches, or kind of, you know, it freezes. But you use that supercomputer for, you know, a particular project. I can get 4 hours of work done in 1 hour. And that's what I feel like with the creativity and the songwriting and things as well. So that's why it was able to come together so quickly, because, you know, once you cut out the doubt and the fear and you're just in this immersive process, it started to pour out. But interestingly, I've looked at those last 5 albums before I found out about the conditions, and I was managed and treated. And this recent album now that I am treated and conditioned, and the difference in songwriting and, you know, how I've built things, I'm really proud of this new one. I'm proud. It's my proudest album out of all the 6. So.
Fantastic, brilliant. And we're going to play one of those tracks from your latest album coming up in the show very shortly. But, you know, in terms of not just being a musician, you're also an advocacy for ADHD, for autism, for dyslexia. But it was your daughter who actually encouraged you to go and get your diagnosis and to recognize yourself as someone who has additional needs, but also actually challenge yourself to, you know, think about things a bit differently, you know. And you've gone on to doing podcasting, you've gone on to talk about neurodiversity, but, you know, what was that conversation with your daughter? What happened there?
Well, I mean, so actually it's kind of, it's so nuanced, it's so multifaceted in this and stuff. Actually, we didn't know anything about the neurodiversity until I went into the ground. So, you know, again, the only discovery of all of it was the post-mental health crisis and the psychiatric assessment. I thought it was something else. I thought it was bipolar. And then the reveal was it's ADHD and autism. And then in that process, that was obviously felt like self-diagnosed. And it took me 2 years to get diagnosed. It took me another year to get treated and meds. But in the midst of that process, we were starting to see obviously things in our daughter as well, and, you know, me learning about this and educating myself, and then obviously processing it internally, but also seeing it kind of go through my children. Obviously it has a feedback loop at the same time. So there was and I think this is what's happening with a lot of late diagnosed and maybe neurodivergent families and things. When they're discovering it, it then becomes a completely different life change in regards to awareness, education, you know, some sort of conditioning at home, tweaking your environment, because we can't completely tweak it to be neurodivergent because we live primarily in, you know, there's 20% of us in the world who have neurodivergent conditions. The rest of the 80% are, you know, we've got to somehow fit in and things. But to be able to unmask at home and be ourselves, this is ongoing without a doubt. It's not a, you know, one size fits all. You know, every ADHD person you meet is different, every autistic person you meet, because I don't see them as my identity. I see them as kind of part of my makeup. My identity is like my intuition, my authenticity. We've all got different backgrounds, different DNA, different, you know, experiences. So, you know, I did think it was my identity at one point. I was like, no, actually, no, these are characteristics of Jon. So these things have gone into my children. We've got our youngest who you know, you pick up on things, but he's young enough yet to kind of go, okay, 8-year-old boy, you know, is it this, or is it just being an 8-year-old boy? And that's where I don't also want to go, right, well, this is this, and labels and things. I find labels are great for understanding and getting treatment. But for me to go, I'm Jon Hart, ADHD, autism, and dyslexia, that's not what I'm going to do. Like when you get a degree and you get a BA after it. I am Jon, but I just have these characteristics. I have this makeup. I have these things. I talk. You know, sometimes I feel in the ADHD talks, I call it creative talking, creative thinking, creative writing, rather than, oh, sorry, my ADHD talks too much, or it monologues, or it jabbers. It's just like, or it's convoluted. I'm like it as an artist, so I express it in my personality. I never used to. I'm starting to though. So anyway, that's
do you know what? So, do you know what? It's fascinating that we speak like that. You know, being a dyslexic person, I remember the importance of having a label to be able to get support, to be able to get help. You know, and people were seen as a label. You know, and whether they're autistic, whether they're dyslexic or whatever. And I think the Danny's Association put it so well, and Daniel will talk about this on the 15th more. Call me by my name, call me who I am. I am Daniel, you know, I am Adrian, I am Jon. And do you know what? To celebrate us, actually, listen, the person who's the richest person in the world is autistic, you know. Elon Musk has got autism, you know, in relation to you know, in relation to the first person I found out about being proud of being dyslexic was Tom Cruise. Right. You know, so at the end of the day, famous people out there with that disability, you know, it's
so
we are who we are.
So my first, what do you want to call it, neurodivergent hero, or like that, was Richard Branson. You know, he came out as dyslexic, you know, and so you look at like all the stuff that they've created and built and things, and they don't, you know, again, it's where I'm going. I know it's like, I feel like there's a lot of us who are surviving the day. We're just trying to get through the day and just trying to do the best we can and trying to cope. And I'm really curious about what it would be like to go, what would thriving look like? It's bespoke and it's perspective, you know, of our own sort of perception. But what is thriving in your world? Obviously, it's thriving in my music, but I want to discover other areas, you know. So
definitely. Well, let's show everybody how you thrive, Jon. Let's show everybody this amazing style of music of yours. And what we're going to do, rather than play the song from your album, I just want to show everybody what fingerstyle music is, and also how great of a guitarist you actually are and a singer you actually are. Nice. So you sent me over a music video of yours in terms of Pink Floyd. Now, Pink Floyd, I think, is one of my stepfather's really favorite music. I remember listening to this music when I was growing up into my household. So for Pink Floyd, for you, was that a family thing?
Dad played Dark Side of the Moon on repeat. He brainwashed us, but basically when we were kids, over and over and over. I played it in the band, and then I was like curious one day. The intro, so as a little intro, this is the perfect intro to go. I play the cash registers. I mimic them with my right hand. I play the bass with my left hand. Then I bring in the bass, the beat, and the Hammond organ, and sing over the top. And it's no looping. That's the kind of pre-frame. There's no looping to this whatsoever. Everything you see took me 6 months to completely put together, and then another 6 months to bring it to stage. It's still my most popular cover, and I still love it. It's this timeless cover. So.
Fantastic. Brilliant. Well, let's play it to everybody. Let's have a quick break together so we can listen to your music together. If you can hear the music, please give us a thumbs up. If not, it's going to go out there. Enjoy it. I know I'm going to enjoy it. So here we go. This is Jon Hart, Pink Floyd, and Money.
Money, get away. Get a good job with more pain, you're okay. Money, it's a cash. Grab that cash with both hands and make a stash. You can't carry your fast, start daydream, think about me, a football team. Money, get back. I'm alright, Jack. Keep my hands off my stack. Money, it's a hit. Don't give me that goody gunga bullshit. I'm in a high fidelity first class traveling Italy. Got by me a jet. money, it's a crime. Sharing fairly, but don't take a slice of my pie. Money, so they say, is it good or evil today? But if you ask a pay rise, so surprised they're giving none away. 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 Away.
Fantastic, young man. Now that is cool. I'm really impressed. And do you know what? I'm in awe. It's like, how many instruments can you hear through that? You don't need a band. You can just go out on your own. It's like, you don't need a drum. You don't need anyone.
Do you know what? One thing I want to sort of add to that, because people are like, you tapped a pedal there. So FYI, that's a vocal harmony pedal. It's not a looping pedal. So the reason why, so when you heard the, you know, when you heard the tremolo went, well, or whatever it was, and then I did the distortion on my voice and stuff. FYI, when I tap the vocal harmony pedal, it's for the vocal effects. It's not for the guitar effects. So you're right. That to do that, there's a reggae version of Dark Side of the Moon that came out years ago. Like, I can't remember what it was. And I was like, oh, I love that beat. And out of that, so this is curiosity. If you go into a cover and go, what if I was to actually just trace all of the elements of this song to kind of give it, you know, the same experience? And I've had people request that at every single, you know, I play that at every single gig now, because covers are a great way for people to kind of go, oh, I know that song. And also it's an introduction to my sound. So I had to find the right cover, you know, that was not generic, but it was like, I don't know someone who's covered Money maybe like that before. And I've done The Chain, I've done Bittersweet Symphony, and I've done others and stuff, but Money seems to be the one that I can introduce my fingerstyle singer-songwriter. That's what fingerstyle singer-songwriter is, basically. So yeah.
That's brilliant. Absolutely love it, and a unique sound as well. And I think that's what I love about One Life. You know, I'm bringing musicians from all around the world, and we are covering. You know, in a very space of 5 months, we've covered Greece, UK, you know, brilliant. America. It's been absolutely amazing journey to see everybody's different style of music. And the type of music that comes out is absolutely amazing. That's what I love about our artists in One Life. You all bring something individual. And, you know, I'm going to add that to our One Life library in terms of our playlist, because, you know, it's just an absolute unique way of music, and it immerses and draws you in terms of listening, in terms of enjoying that musical journey. But in terms of your musical journey, you're also a very passionate advocate for supporting people through mental health, through disability. And, you know, you also have a podcast show yourself. Now, for us over in the UK, we had the devastating news of Liam Payne, and he's lost through mental health. And, you know, it was absolutely devastating to see another musician going through a journey in their life where everything become too much. You know, I've had recently myself, and everybody see it on One Life, I lost my producer over in America to music, you know, and to the music industry, and, you know, things became too much for him. Now, Jon, for you, in terms of advocating for people with PTSD, for mental health, for disability, it's a real passion of yours, to the point that you've actually teamed up with someone to bring these podcasts out, and also to support people out there in the community. And I want to reflect for the next sort of 5-10 minutes on your support that you give to others, and the importance of giving that support in the music industry.
So I'll give a bit of context in regards to you. I hit that point, right? I hit the point that you're talking about, like, and the Liam Payne point. And I hit, you know, and I think having that lived experience of, I survived, right? And I think that's my deep root thing here. I survived. So if I've survived and I'm here and I'm able to, right, I need to voice, I can't change everybody. I can't obviously get to everybody, but what I can do is spread awareness as best I can. Now, there's things there's stats in the, you know, within the UK, and, you know, this is big companies like Musicians UK and Help Musician, that 80% of musicians suffer with mental health issues. And this is a huge thing. It's just like, we know, obviously, if we're using unhealthy coping mechanisms, you know, and alcohol, just to be able to just get through and get by. And this is independent musicians, let alone if you're in that industry and it's really toxic and it's really competitive and you're fighting every single day. You're not living in this kind of natural authentic space or safe space even. And for me, I had mental health issues, depression, anxiety for years and years and years. And then finding out I had neurodivergent conditions, which were actually at the core. It was untreated ADHD. And it became a tornado. And I was finances on fire. This was on fire. This things started coming on fire. And obviously you were suppressing it with all the other things. And for me, it's taken me, again, years and years to strip out all of my unhealthy coping mechanisms, which allows you to be raw, which is really, really hard when you're just trying to cope, and then treat the conditions or manage them. So I've got to a point where, again, I'm not thriving. I'm getting to the point where I'm like, okay, I've accepted my conditions. I'm doing the work. I'm doing this and thing, and I've never felt better than ever. So this is not okay, this is my story. What I've seen is there's still a lot of musicians, particularly, that I see struggling. Now, I went out and I'm an advocate for neurodiversity, I've gone out to different groups and things. But what I found is when I went out to different groups, I was like, what about, I'm a musician. That's what we do on a daily basis. So I developed this thing. I started with the podcast, and that was talking therapy for me. I was like, I want to talk about a subject. And I call it, I have an improvised babble section where I just get to just offload. And it helped me. And funny enough, people started coming out of the woodwork. They started contacting me like, Jon, you're like, this is not a normal podcast. You're like a comfort blanket, like a friend who I just like next to me. And I was like, I actually, I was unaware of this. So that the people now discovering, do I have ADHD? So the podcast started happening, the album started happening, and I was writing music after the post-mental health crisis. Nothing was working, mind and body, but my muscle memory fingers were there. And then I developed the Neurodivergent album. So I developed those two as like, they were therapy tools for me. They've now become awareness assets. But recently, so I've teamed up, I've co-founded the Neurodivergent Musician, which is a peer-to-peer community. So people come in. The vital thing with this, if you don't have to explain yourself with your neurodivergent conditions, if you don't have to explain what it's like to live as a musician, then you feel seen, heard, and validated immediately. You can then unmask, you can feel safe, and our WhatsApp group is mad. It's like everyone's just gone blown up in a really wonderful way, because they're just like, we've never seen anything like this, because the music industry is always, it's either networking. What's the blueprint to help me get up the ladder? What's this? It feels very doing, whereas being and just being yourself. And we all know what that head-like feeling is, where strategies and how to get on playlists and how to do this and stuff as well. I feel that's dopamine. We're looking for dopamine a lot of the time. But what is actually going on underneath? If we can point the torch on ourselves and go, this is really hard, this is really delicate, but if we processed it in a creative outlet, if we processed it in another way in our art, like I've done and a few others, then you start to kind of, you even get your authentic music. You connect on a deeper level with your songwriting, because you're not writing for trends, you're not writing for what people want, you're writing for yourself first. More often than not, the more authentic you are, the more people gravitate to you, like a lighthouse. You become a lighthouse, guiding light for others. So this is where I see things like Liam Payne. Now, I've had people around, you don't know him, you've never met him, you don't know all the ins, but you can see from the interview, you can see all the things, like the climate he's in, the kind of, it's like the ugly duckling, or kind of like the one who's like in the band who's just not quite getting it right and things. And now, we know recently he was dropped from his label as this and this and this, and also he had a diagnosis of ADHD recently. So I'm not saying I'm going on detective mode here, but you see, once you start to see things, and you see things from like big artists who have taken their lives, and my quest is, how many of these 80% of musicians are neurodivergent? Now that's just my own personal curious question. And if you can go and look past the mental health, where it's depression, anxiety. Now there's obviously musicians who can just have that and they may not be neurodivergent, but actually I've got put on SSRI straight away. It's like the first thing to do, get put onto these meds. they went against the ADHD but I had no awareness of this. My goal with this is that I'm not going to go and tell anybody. I'm not going to do that where, oh, I think you've got this, and I'm not. That's not me. I don't have that, sort of permission or anything. My goal is to go, look, I'm just shining a light on something. Just be curious and open about this. Whether you're diagnosed in this community all the way, you could be self-diagnosed, undiagnosed, you could be curious, or you could be completely unaware that this is going on. It might be happening to other people, because it turns up in different ways. And I'm not saying everyone goes out and gets diagnosed and you don't, you can go in this, but I've created assets and things just to kind of go and open the door and have a conversation about it. Because if it is going at the core, then depression, anxiety, and, when I went to crisis, were co-conditions of my neurodivergent conditions. And this is the root. I've had trauma and stuff as well, and I always thought it was that, and I was like, apparently I've been filtering trauma through this. So it's really hard subjects, and obviously I'm really talking at like the raw side of it, but it's like, if we don't have these conversations and we carry on doing the dopamine mining where we're like, if I get on that playlist, if I hit fame. I wanted fame when I was growing up. I knew if I hit fame, I would not be satisfied. I knew if I had £1 million, I would not be satisfied. I made 5 albums, and the reason I made 5 albums, the next day my wife was like, you're on the floor again. You've just released an album last night. What's happened? So there was patterns, there's self-sabotage, there's all these things. And there's also a reason why I feel a lot of musicians are not able to get to that position. We call it that, you meet the right people, or you have to be in the right moment. But I think we also have to be in our right moment of ourselves. And it's not, I feel I was chasing things externally to try and fill myself up internally. And I realized, I was like, it took me to 40 to go, oh my days, it's in out, it's not out in. And I mean, that's for everybody in the world, but for particularly neurodivergents who there's RSD, rejection sensitive dysphoria. No wonder you don't want to go into a music industry where you're going to get constant rejection everywhere. We've got immense resilience. So this is a wider conversation, but I'm not obviously going out going, right, everybody go and look into neurodivergent. I'm just going, have you thought about this?
Have you thought about it? Have you recognized? And I think one of the things that I do like about the way you're talking, and I've seen other artists do this even more so since COVID, is recognizing yourself, recognizing the reasons why you're writing something, recognizing the reasons why you're producing a particular song, a particular album. And, I think the quality of musicians that we've got coming through at the moment, because they are recognizing themselves, they are recognizing themselves as people. And that shows in their lyric writing and their songwriting and the songs that are coming out. And, I'm all for unsigned artists who, aren't in the major industry in the charts and things like that, because at the end of the day, I think our music is pure. The lyrics are pure, and, what people are bringing out is pure as well. And, for people to get help and support for yourself, the support groups that you've got, there needs to be more of that. There needs to be more support, because that music industry out there is tough. A lot of people are reaching for fame and fortune, but along the way they're tripping up, and that's one of the things that I want to bring into the One Life Music Academy, is that journey as a musician doesn't have to be about fame and fortune. It needs to be about self-belief. It needs to be about why you want to bring in music into your life. Because if you want to bring music into your life to be a mega rich pop star, you're going to break very quickly. If you want to bring music into your life because you enjoy the passion of music and what music does for a person, like your style of music, you can listen to that style of music and enjoy it, and you can feel the music through your body. That's what music should be about. It should be about stardom and money and richness and things like that. So especially for a neurodiverse person, because actually that can bring in other complications of hitting brick walls very quickly because you're not jumping over the next hurdle, So like for me, one of my frustrations when I produce music is that I can't play an instrument and I have to rely on backing tracks. Is that going to be good enough for the music industry, especially if I'm going out as a solo artist in a pub on my own? Will they enjoy just a backing track, but actually not being able to produce that next song or something like that becomes a frustration, and for some people that can also bring a lot of low points of their life, you know, in terms of PTSD, in terms of things like that. So your WhatsApp group, you're saying that there's a lot of people joined it, which is fantastic. I'm really pleased to hear that people are reaching out to you, Jon. But for artists, even in one life, if they need to reach out to a service like your own, how do we get involved? How do we just like pick up that information?
So, well, one, you can, you know, come and connect with me personally if you want to, you know, come through to I'm on the socials. It's Jon Hart Music, and so you can find me there. Or, you know, we've now started setting up all the socials. Neurodivergent Musician. There is the neurodivergentmusician.co.uk. Not only is, so when you sign up, we do we call them workshops, but actually they're hangouts every fortnight. We take a subject, and it's not like a formal presentation. It's like, let's just talk about this, just open it up. And the WhatsApp group is just kind of obviously in between sort of communication. But yeah, we've got things, you know, coming up next year, and you know, retreats and all sorts of stuff as well, and lots of things planned for this, where it's not just, you know, one business, one thing. This is not a one-man mission either. This is like, you know, a group of advocates, like you said, other musicians, like, you know, there needs to be worldwide advocates for this thing, and to be able to go, like you were saying earlier, a music artist who can go on stage and just be proud to be autistic. You know, the stigma and ableism that is in all of this and things, it's just kind of like, you know, I feel my brain, I'm 80% creative, so I've then got to distribute 20% of whatever it is, logical, logistics and stuff, to the rest of my life. That's not enough to maintain a family, to maintain a life, to maintain all these things. So there's no wonder why we struggle. It's why then, you know, what are the other things where you can get support? You know, I've got a support worker now, and this is UK sort of funding, and then I've got a coach, and then I've got a therapist, but those things cost, and all these other things. But I feel now the support team has brought that 20% up to like 40%. But these are not overnight things. These are like little steps, because I used to be like, I need it now. I need to get to the top of the industry, whatever it is. And I knew if I broke, or if something happened in my 20s or 30s, one, it would have just crashed overnight, because I didn't have what I have now. Now, if something happened now, you know, I'm like, oh, it's 40s. I'm like, actually, it's like some tennis players when they're like, oh, except they don't win a Grand Slam. It's like, do you know what? I'm fine with it and stuff. What I'm into is longevity for the rest of my life, rather than the short-term bursts, 15 minutes of fame. I'm like, what will that do for me? And also, if I feel vulnerable and I'm neurodivergent, do I really want to put myself into that sort of atmosphere, or be niche like I am, and, you know, a niche singer-songwriter, and really have people who like, oh, they listen on a completely deeper level, rather than, you know, my kids listen to Heart FM and all this. And so I'm like, I'm fine with it. It's fine. You know, I'm a classical kind of guy. But I know, but as a, you know, as a listener, I'm like, yeah, I get it. I get the formulas, I get the trends and stuff. But as a musician, I'm like, no, you know, what if you took Ed Sheeran, you're like, what actually, if you were take away the pop, what are you capable of to write that would be progressive, like completely out there? So and I think that is when you celebrate neurodiversity in musicians.
Fantastic. Well, let's celebrate your neurodiversity. Let's celebrate the fact that you are bringing out these 5 albums and bringing out Neurodiversity album, which is out now. Can people download this new album?
So it's on my website, and I keep it there because I have an artist to fan sort of direct relationship. So at jonhartmusic.com you can go to, and then either the music page, or I've set up a neurodivergent album page there. It's got all the details, all the story, the trailer and things. And if you purchase the album there, you get direct access. You know, it's a relationship between artist and fan.
Fantastic. Well, let's show everybody that song. You did send it over to me, and thanks for sending it over to me. Let's play this to everybody, okay? Let's take a listen. You know, tell us a little bit of a background relation to this single, and sort of the production of the single, and how long it took you to put together, because I know these type of songs take quite a while.
They do. It's the first track of the album. The album's a 12-track concept album going from the neurodivergent journey from surviving to thriving. And this particular track, why it's called Neurodivergent, is almost like the overview. as if you would like. I'm a massive Lord of the Rings fan, so the whole concept of the album is sort of Lord of the Rings story arc. This would be like what you read in the back of the DVD or back in the day, or the Hypnosis sort of thing. So
brilliant, excellent. Let's have a listen. Hopefully you can hear it. Give me a thumbs up if you can. If not, the rest of the world is listening. Here we go.
Cool.
Sparks they cannot see. Please accept me as I am. Neurodivergent, I'm lost with this mess. So plug in empty brain in this empty game. Please accept me as I am. Neurodivergent, I'm lost with this mess. I'm lost with this mess. I'm lost with this mess. So pull it up and find I'm a different kind. Authenticity is a part of me. Yeah. I need to flare. I need release. Now hide fear. I'm building bricks with honesty and time can see. Impulsive mind, a sea of tasks. I make mistakes, but please embrace my strengths, not flaws. Seek peace, not wars. I'm tired and distressed.
Fantastic song, mate. Gonna be an absolute classic album. Really enjoyed that.
Thank you,
And
man.
I love the messages in the song as well. And it sort of made me understand a bit more about your life in terms of your life and struggles. And like I said earlier, you know, I think that's more people are becoming more aware of when they do their songwriting about talking about their journeys through their life. And, you know, really, it's a more passionate song. I love being able to listen to people's stories through music. And yours actually definitely shone and come through. Absolutely great song. Really great song.
You're right, because I think obviously you're hearing me talk today, and people make assumptions. Okay, this is the person, and then when you hear the music artist and you hear the music, which is obviously the other side of the coin, it's kind of like what I ask people to do. I'm like, look, you're only getting 50% of me. Go and listen to this, and you'll get, like you just said, the nuance, like the whole thing. I mean, I was brought up with Fleetwood Mac, by the way. So if you listen to the kind of guitar-y stuff and things as well, and the harmonies, it's Fleetwood Mac influence. But that's a certain era. It's a certain decade. So I love that kind of taking that decade, but making it modern, progressive kind of folk fingerstyle. And it's not mainstream. And that's where I'm like, you know, there might be some hooks and stuff, but the lyrics as well. So I've had people go, please send us the lyrics. I don't want to listen to it. You know, and the response I've had, especially from neurodivergence, has been like, oh my days, this is overwhelming, because, you know, you write for yourself first, but then when it connects with other people, that's where you go. That's what's bigger than fame, money, and everything as well. It's the impact. Connecting, the impact. If it allows someone for 1 hour, once they listen to the album, to go, oh my goodness, you've made me feel more seen, heard, and validated than anything and everyone and stuff. Again, it's not, I'm not trying to do that, but there's just this response that I'm kind of going, oh right, okay. Obviously it's validation as an artist, you know, when you're writing these things and things, but I just, those messages, they're kind of what I pin up. It's like getting messages from your children, you know, that feel, that sort of warmth, that warming thought, where you're going, I'm being a good dad.
So, John, a dad, you know, your children, you know, your wife, I know obviously on your Facebook page, you know, your connection between yourself and your wife in terms of your journey, what you're passionate about, you know, you're very close in terms of the types of things you do in terms of work and things like that. But John, outside of music, you know, what do the kids think to you as a musician? Do they follow you?
Well, I mean, they're kind of young enough to not really focus on that side of it and things, you know. They kind of know what I do as a job. Like, they think I'm a guitar teacher. I'm like, that's fine, you know, whatever it is. And they've been to a few of my gigs and stuff, and it was lovely after the stage. Actually, they both came up on stage and wanted to sort of hug me, because everyone would be looking at things. But they, you know, when I'm playing, wherever it is and stuff, they don't really get involved, but they love the, you know, I think having this brain sometimes where I'm like a puppy on a lead sort of thing. And if you hold me on it and stuff, that's where you start to really, you know, get bogged down and stuff. But the fun, the creative, you know, I do a Gollum impression, you know, like all these kind of like other things, you know, massive fantasy, Lord of the Rings fan, Marvel, wherever it is. So I immerse myself in those things when it's like dad mode. They see the side of me, which is just like fun, quirky, a bit different, a bit creative and things. And obviously we know that doesn't play out all the time. You know, we have pressures, like not just normal life pressures and work. These things can play out however it is, and trying to navigate between two, you know, neurodivergence loads under one roof who have different.
And I do this with my musicians, you know, all the time. You know, I always remember and remind them to remember themselves, to remember their other, you know, passions in life, you know, because it isn't just about the music industry. You know, we can be swallowed up 24/7, 7 days a week by the music industry, but you are also a dad, you know, you are also a person, you know, you are also have other interests away from the music industry. You know, you mentioned the Lord of the Rings, absolutely great movie, you know, spend time watching the Lord of the Rings, you know, spend time.
Books, films and stuff. And I'm like, I find it's geeky. I'm like, do you know what? But that's where I get to immerse into that fantasy. Like my music's a fantasy world. It's a creative sort of stuff. If we can take that energy and put it into, like you said, other areas of our life, well, why can't I be a musician And this is where I don't pick up my guitar as often as I do anymore. I do it now in a right explorative. My guitar's now a therapist. I go to it going, I ask it, her name's Luna. I ask Luna, how am I feeling today? And then what comes out. And that's the ideas from the album. I don't go into going, I'm going to write a song, or, oh, I need to use these chords. I don't have technique or theory or any of it anymore. I now just go into it for pure exploration, creativity. And I'm like, well, what if I do that with my kids? What if I do that with my hobbies and other things? You then take the pressure off, because you're not churning out new. That's not the goal. It's like, no, just do it as authentic. It takes as long as it's got to take. And we've got too many other pressures on our life. We don't want to.
We do. And I think that our best work comes out from being relaxed to picking up something when you've got something in your mind and you really want to enjoy it. And like you say, the guitar name Luna, that's great. Absolutely fantastic. I love the fact that the guitar's even got a name in your household, which is brilliant. Absolutely fantastic.
You connect with something. It's not just an object. It's not a learning tool.
It's not just an object.
It's a person.
It's a person. It's a special person to pick up and create an amazing piece of music, which is fantastic. Listen, mister, we have got literally 5 minutes left of the show. 2025, what's it going to look like for Jon Hart? What are we going to see from the Jon Hart music show?
So, well, with the album now, I've decided to do every 3 years instead of every year. So I've already started writing. There's the kind of, that once the golden reign of songwriting juices keep going, I'm like, right, keep going that, but I'm going on a deeper journey of what it feels like to be myself. So that's probably in a few years' time. Now, the idea now is push the album, obviously go with the podcast, getting some amazing guests on, maybe like neurodivergent musicians and things. I've already had some wonderful guests on already. But the neurodivergent musician, my quest is, it's a personal thing. It's like the leading music neurodivergent musician advocate, in regards to, this is not just something that I do once a week or once a month. This feels like a daily mission, calling for me, that I want to get out there as a musician speaker, go and tour, where I don't just play music, I actually play the music, and in between the tracks I talk about like the podcast stuff, the insights and stories. And that can invite neurodivergence, that can invite neurodivergent musicians, all sorts of people. I'm really starting to get out there. So there's lots of avenues with this, but I'm really gonna take a step back and go, right, build it up online, and then go out and tour the album, tour the podcast, do the workshops, seminars, go into music education, colleges, universities, institutes, and with music and things. So I'm trying not to look too far past 2025. I feel a lot of people have said to me, Jon, like, seriously, man, there's something happening here. And I'm like, okay, right. And the feedback. So it's just trying to go, okay, how do we do this in a way that can really support, can really make people feel like they can turn up to, like my music and podcast, where they feel seen, heard, and validated, and the community. What if they did that at a gig? They turned up, where there's not sensory overload. It's not like, oh my goodness, where everyone stands there and they just feel a little bit awkward and you're trying to dance or sing. You can just turn up to a neurodivergent musician show.
Fantastic.
So,
well, we are going to, One Life is going to help you. We are going to be there to support you. We're going to work in partnership with you. I want to try and make sure that your details are available to a lot of our musicians each week. It'd be great if we could have some sort of poster or some sort of contact number, that we can put on the One Life, Facebook page. We are going to be having a website developed next year as well. Great. We want to work with you. We want to make sure the support groups are out there for all of our musicians, family, because One Life isn't just about the musicians. It is about their family members as well. So those contact numbers will be available from, the next few days. Myself and Jon will work hard to make sure that you've got that advice. And if you need that support through the WhatsApp group, Jon will get the numbers out there for people, and we'll get that advice and support out there for people. Jon, you've been an absolute pleasure. It's unfortunately I do have to bring the show to a close. Jon, is there anybody out there you want to say a special thank you in relation to supporting you in your journey, in the music industry? Is anyone quickly you want to say thank you to?
Well, I think first off, the most important thing you said is not only is it business and music, it's personal. So my family are like huge, to not only help me as a musician, but to help me through all the things to get to, phoenix rising through the ashes. I couldn't have done that alone. So that's my family, and friends, you know, obviously fans who've kept things going for years and stuff, so, and been there. Now my neurodivergent, you know, the community, people in there. Alex Dudley, who is he's my support worker, and he's also the co-founder of Neurodivergent Musician. He's also the producer of the album. So he's like done lots of things, right? He's a wonderful person to connect with. Brilliant, you know, business and you know, production, so many other different angles, and he's also a singer-songwriter. So if you connect through obviously the Neurodivergent Musician, you'll find out about him, but he's been major. And then you know, I've got a coach and a therapist. They've been absolutely wonderful, Tristan Hunt and Jess from Wellbeing Therapy Hub. But again, there's an abundance of people, from new friends, old friends, and you know what it's like. It's like saying like thanks and awards and stuff. You're like, oh, I hope
it is, especially when you put on the spot.
Yeah. Family, friends, fans, you know, clients, whatever it is, and obviously partners. I think that covers the basis without me having to go into sort of particular name drops and stuff.
Fantastic. Okay, everybody, I want you to support this young man over in the UK. His music is fantastic. We've heard great music, but we've also heard an amazing support network for neurodiverse musicians. And I think all of you out there will appreciate Jon's support over in the UK. We will find alternatives over in America and over in sort of all the rest of the world. There will be support groups like this, so we won't leave you alone. But actually, for, you know, we're based in the UK over at One Life, so this is that support network over in the UK. And I'm sure even through the power of the internet, we can support our international artists as well. So I'm going to draw the program to a close. Thank you very much, Jon, for coming to see us at One Life. We will catch up with you in the next few months. We will make sure we find out about how the album's going and how your support's going, and also about the group. We'll keep in contact with you. But for now, everybody, One Life, I'm going to have to bring it to a close. I'm going to go and grab my brekkie. In relation to the Daniel Foundation, please keep supporting them. And tomorrow night, please join me, 7 p.m. I'm going to go back across the pond to America to go and see the amazing Samantha Grimes, our award-winning singer-songwriter over in America, at 7 p.m. So come and join me. For now, have a fantastic day. Enjoy your day, whatever you're doing. If you're going to pick up your guitar, pick up your guitar. If you're just going to go out to work, go out to work. Whatever you're going to do, just have a really good day. Okay, so this is AJ signing off. We'll see you tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.